I'm Yasmin Gagne.
I'm Josh Christensen.
And this is Most Innovative Companies. On today's episode, Fast Company contributing writer Clint Rainey on Starbucks' new CEO and the death of the third place.
There was a point where the benefits were good. Now the benefits are not that different than Walmart.
Rapper Saweetie on how to work successfully with brands.
I love me some boiling crab. So they knew that it would be an authentic and genuine partnership. Because there's weeks where I'm ordering it like 3 times a week.
Candace Bushnell, author of Sex and the City, on her career and writing.
Find your Mr. Big. I don't actually believe in that in real life.
And as always, keeping tabs.
These terms of service agreements for all of these technology things are still insane.
But first, here's the download. The news you need to know this week in the world of business and innovation.
Mixed bag for retail chains this past week. Rite Aid is closing another 44 stores as the company continues to go through restructuring after filing for bankruptcy last year.
They can't even spell. Right is spelled wrong.
Yeah, seriously. But on a brighter note, Barnes & Noble is actually opening 58 new stores before 2025, continuing the bookstore's resurrection. The new locations tend to be smaller and better designed than before.
They're also full of not books. I love it, but it's basically a coffee shop.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Nobody's buying books at a Barnes & Noble anymore, but I do love a Barnes & Noble.
Oh, yeah, me too. It's got that familiar smell.
It was my favorite store to go to as a kid.
Same. Now, Purdue is recalling 167,000 pounds of frozen and ready-to-eat chicken nuggets and tenders after customers complained about pieces of metal wire embedded in the meat.
This is wild.
This is like the razors and apples thing.
Yeah, or the Kenan and Kel episode where there's a screw in a can of tuna.
The exact products and batch numbers are listed online, so if you love chicken tendies, check your freezers.
Oh no, my dinosaur chicken nuggies. A federal judge ruled that PepsiCo can be sued for marketing Gatorade protein bars as good for you, even though they have more sugar than protein.
Have you ever eaten one? I ate one and felt crazy.
Delicious. It's really good.
It was so hyper.
I'm Josh Christensen, and I endorse this deeply unhealthy product. It's actually, there's more sugar in a Gatorade protein bar than your average bar of candy.
Nice.
Yeah.
After ongoing legal disputes, Condé Nast announced an agreement with OpenAI to allow content from their publications, which include Vogue, The New Yorker, GQ, Vanity Fair, and Wired, to show up in ChatGPT and SearchGPT. Many other media companies have already struck similar deals with OpenAI. The announcement from Condé Nast CEO Roger Lynch cited the increasing difficulty of monetizing news and digital media and said this partnership will make up for some of that lost revenue.
This is a pretty big existential crisis for media companies. I know we talk about it a lot.
Bleak.
Yeah.
Listen, ChatGPT could not come up with our personalities.
No, they could not. Could you imagine?
It's too smart.
And finally, in podcast land, the super popular show Call Her Daddy is leaving Spotify and going to Sirius XM. The show, hosted by Alex Cooper, signed a $125 million deal for 3 years, more than double her previous contract with Spotify.
Get that bag.
Yeah, get that bag, Alex
Unwell
Cooper.
Media, reach out.
This is the latest in a series of high-profile deals and acquisitions in the podcast space for Sirius XM. Just this past January, SmartList, the Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, and Sean Hayes podcast, signed with the company for $100 million. And they've acquired Team Coco's podcast. They have a deal with Crooked Media. They're like, it's them and Spotify are going to war.
And that's the news you need to know today. So, Josh, what is your go-to Starbucks order?
So I've never had an official Starbucks order besides getting a drip coffee or a basic.
But I went to a Starbucks with you and you were all like, oatmeal milk,
this
double
is what
shot.
No, this is what I was gonna say. I was setting up the storytelling.
Sorry. I'm like, fact check.
Boo. No, I know what you get. No, but that's what I was going to say. My go-to now is this shaken oat milk espresso drink that they do. It's so good, but you have to get less pumps of sugar in there, the brown sugar, because they put 6 pumps in there.
That's crazy.
And I need half of that.
That's basically what a Gatorade bar tastes
that's one, it's a half a Gatorade bar, protein bar. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
What about you? What's your go-to Starbucks soda? I also know what this is.
I know. It's sad. I get an iced green tea. I used to love like an iced latte, but I had some medical stuff and I had to give up coffee.
Well, this took a sad turn.
Which was sad.
Well, way to bring down the mood, Yaz.
So I get iced green tea. And one thing I do appreciate is if I travel abroad, iced drinks are not really a thing.
Yeah.
They always have the same menu. It's really nice.
Yeah,
I appreciate that kind of consistency. Last week, in a major shakeup, Starbucks announced the appointment of a new CEO and chairman, Brian Niccol. Niccol is currently the CEO of Chipotle, and he'll succeed Laxman Narasimhan at Starbucks, who is stepping down immediately from the position he has held for, wait for it, 17 months. For a company that has aggressively claimed it does not make fast food, this new hire could signal a shift in how Starbucks views itself and how it attempts to regain the 20% it's lost in market cap. Former longtime CEO Howard Schultz and one-time presidential candidate Howard Schultz
Never forget.
began marketing the cafes as cultural third places, but passing the baton to Niccol suggests that the coffee giant could be ready to just call a spade a spade. It's a stop-and-go coffee shop. Here to tell us more is Fast Company contributing writer Clint Rainey. Welcome back to the show, Clint.
Thanks, Jess. Good to be back on.
So, who is Brian Niccol, and why is this change so significant?
So Brian Niccol, he's not a name brand like Howard Schultz is or Ray Kroc. He's just sort of a regular guy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
But I think he's revered within the industry, sort of the way you talk about a coach with like a really long record of a bunch of winning seasons.
Right.
He's like the Phil Jackson of fast casual or something.
The Phil Jackson of fast casual is an incredible moniker, and I really hope he takes that up on his X profile.
I mean, he spent 2 decades in fast food, jumping from brand to brand, and he's had pretty excellent runs at all of those places. He was at Yum Brands in the 2000s and got promoted to Pizza Hut's chief marketing officer, kind of right as the Great Recession started. And he kicked off a bunch of things for them, web ordering, mobile apps, like a heavy use of social media, things that seem like antiquated practically now. But at the time, they were pretty big deals.
Mm-hmm.
And then he jumped from there to Taco Bell. He came aboard right as it was emerging from this PR scandal that maybe people remember, maybe they don't, where they were in trouble for their seasoned beef. How much beef is in the seasoned beef taco meat filling? And there was a lawsuit.
Oh, this is like, remember that Subway scandal where it was like, there's no tuna, it's just sawdust? This is the same vibe.
Or that their bread's not real bread. Man, Subway needs some help. Brian Niccol maybe should have been hired by Subway. Subway needs it.
Do a tour through Subway as well. Yeah, no, this was a similar kind of thing where these fast food chains in particular had these sort of toxic images, at least among a subset of consumers. And Niccol had this like ability to just sort of stroll in and turn things around. I mean, like when he got to Taco Bell, sales were dropping. And then like within a little over a year of joining, they were back up by almost double digits.
And he was recruited to Chipotle after some big scandals, right? I mean, we've reported on that.
I don't know how he managed to get to Chipotle because he had just left Taco Bell for doing the thing that we kind of, I guess do we still associate this most with Taco Bell? All of these like deranged sounding menu items that are in partnership with like ultra processed food brands, Doritos, Locos Tacos, Kit Kat quesadillas, Captain Crunch donut holes.
Mm-hmm.
Those things turned out to be a gold mine with consumers, but somehow that was what Chipotle wanted to come in on the tail end of the food safety scandal that had laid waste to that brand, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But he did a really good job there too. When Starbucks put its press release out announcing that they'd brought him on last week, they literally just quoted his like success record from Chipotle. Like the line I thought was pretty funny because it was like, since becoming CEO in 2018, Niccol has transformed Chipotle. Revenue has nearly doubled, profits have increased nearly 7-fold, and the stock price has increased by nearly 800%.
That's what happens when you cut down the amount you put in a burrito for every single customer.
That ROI. That's honestly the only way I recognize Brian Niccol as a person. Like I understand like his track record on the back end, but my first cultural introduction to Brian Niccol was him being like, you just got to give a little wink and a nod and they'll put a little extra on there at Chipotle. I think that was like a CNBC hit or something like that. That was so good.
And how does Howard Schultz feel about Niccol?
Yeah, I don't know how well Schultz knows Niccol personally, but the announcement that Starbucks released made sure to include sort of a throwaway line from Schultz at the end where he's quoted talking about how Niccol has a track record that recognizes the human element it takes to lead a culture and values-driven enterprise. Very on brand for Howard Schultz.
Right. But what does a values-driven enterprise mean? Like, I'm curious whether you think Starbucks is kind of living up to those ideals.
No, I don't think it has been for a very long time. The whole kind of quiet point of bringing someone like Niccol on, it's self-awareness by Starbucks that it's sort of like time to say bye to the idea of a values-driven enterprise being the driving goal of what the brand is about, at least in the way that it was sort of practiced by Schultz. They're bringing in this guy, Brian Niccol, who's proven himself in a very specific area to be quite successful, but it's an area that is honestly night and day different from the image that Starbucks had built its brand around.
Starbucks obviously has had an incredibly solid run. I still remember iconic photos of like the Olsen twins carrying Starbucks cups back in the day. You know what I mean? It was a very cool brand. But lately, it seems like everybody from activist investors to the media are kind of saying that magic is gone. Starbucks experienced a period during which shares fell by 20%. And that's when former CEO, recently ousted CEO Laxman Narasimhan was there. So I guess that was like over the past year. What's been going wrong?
Let me first move back and say one positive thing about Howard Schultz.
I love the emphasis on one.
Well, yeah, I mean, the guy has built his entire business career around this brand and clearly it was successful. But just in like the last, I think, handful of years, it's become clearer some of the things he did right. And under Laxman, I think that was evidence of that. He had a lot of critics, especially when the union stuff started. He was seen as a drag on the brand at that point.
I mean, he also ran for president.
Yeah, right.
Insane.
He keeps busy, right? But what I was going to say about his tenure or multiple tenures versus the people that he turned the ship's wheel over to was that like there were only 3 periods of like kind of lengthy or prolonged stock market decline in Starbucks' 30-year trading history. And they were all during periods when Schultz was not the CEO.
Do you think Schultz was an amazing leader who was bad at cultivating talent, or did he just not set him up to succeed? Like, how do you think Schultz and Narasimhan were sort of interacting?
Yeah, no, I think the latter. I think that he didn't set him up to succeed maybe as well as he could. And like that's another thing that is understood to be the Schultz MO as a leader. Like right before he left in 2023, he did a couple of things, but like the craziest was basically this like doubling down on a really aggressive growth plan that tethered the company's future very heavily to China. Mm-hmm. He told investors that China was their key market and like laid these plans out to increase the store count there from 6,000 to 9,000 stores by 2025.
Wow.
Obviously, that was an eyebrow-raising time to try to go big in China. We reported on how that forced this company, an American coffee brand, to prop up the Chinese Communist Party in these weird, troubling, and unusual, even from a corporate American business standpoint. This like headlong commitment to the Chinese market at a time when, just for one example, both U.S. political parties seem to be in this contest to see who could like out-threaten China the most.
How has Starbucks fared in China? Beyond the political implications, like are people buying the coffee there?
They have underperformed in every market, and that includes China.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Schultz, has swooped in a number of times to influence feeling around certain people. And he second-guessed Narasimhan's leadership, right?
Yeah, this is like the Schultz playbook. He would step back and then do this armchair CEOing move from afar in May. So that's just a few months ago. On LinkedIn, Schultz just one day produced this post that went viral where he was second guessing the leadership of the company, talking about how it was the business was underperforming because the company lacked what he called a maniacal focus on the customer experience. It wasn't dialed into the third place concept enough after all. Like, clearly everyone missed the memo about how the brand would stay true to the third place.
God, LinkedIn is so cursed, isn't it? Just like... So let's talk about the core of the company's mission and values. Starbucks has always kind of marketed itself as a third place. And for people who don't know that term, it's basically a public place where people can spend time outside their home and their workplace to connect with their community. With Niccol running the company, though, I feel like Chipotle's not a third place. Do people hang out there?
They don't have Wi-Fi, so I don't know if that's necessarily great.
Are you?
Fodder.
Oh no! Have you just outed yourself as somebody who's on their phone all the time when they're hanging out with friends?
Me? No. Well, I mean, listen.
Do you need the Wi-Fi?
No, I don't need Wi-Fi to like hang out with friends, but I don't feel like I'm going to hang out with friends at fast food places in any sort of way. And I don't think anyone really is, right? That's the whole point of this, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually really like visiting fast food places alone and like shamefully scarfing down something,
Yeah, that's what it's for.
Exactly. They're a place to get in and out of as fast as possible, right? And that's like slowly what Starbucks has evolved to, even though it's fought that.
Well, Starbucks was once New York City's bathroom. If you were walking around, you really needed to pee. Like
New York City is New York City's bathroom.
That's also true. But Howard Schultz was a big salesperson of the third place. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. And I think that, he was really on to something when he started pushing that idea, which, he didn't invent, but he transformed it into the sort of driving force of the coffee chain that he created. But then it went on to symbolize something that was more than just filling a unique cultural role of being like a casual hangout spot. Like he morphed it into this idea that the brand could stand for making like meaningful social changes. And that's where the whole idea that it was this progressive company that was, good for the workers and going to insert itself into like these political debates that were going on in the country and all of that.
And he published a book, From the Ground Up, A Journey to Reimagine the Promise of America, which is like lofty.
Yeah.
Remember when he tried to spark a national conversation in America about race relations?
He made this announcement that we know we're going to spark a national conversation in America about race relations by making the baristas begrudgingly write literally the words "race" together on cups, and
so funny.
Forced them directly into the middle of that inside their own place of work. The last place that you want to have a serious conversation about a topic like that. He got no amount of eye rolls from like the media and other critics about the odds of any of that stuff working out. But to me, that reflects how he had like this vision for just a plain old coffee chain that grew into something that the engine started revving more and more and more, and it just kind of got out of control. This phrase that Schultz loves about Starbucks is that it has a soul. Like he loves to say that it has a soul. The company is a gift to humankind. And like, that's just not something that a company should, in my opinion at least, set out as a goal. He kind of always expected that the third place idea could evolve with the times.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that the times that we're in, and like I think a lot of this happened during the pandemic, is that the times are a poor fit for that, for what Schultz created. And it's not just that the pandemic made the idea of sitting down in, frankly, a fast food version of a coffee shop, something that people like maybe kind of scowl at, but also like culturally, everyone wants to criticize every kind of move that someone, like if a company comes out and takes a stand for something, like half of the country is going to be like, well, time for a boycott. So I just think that we just sort of moved past the moment when the idea of a third place can actually be this thing that like draws in,
unites people. Yeah.
I think it kind of peaked and ended with the run of Frasier. Pour one out for Kathy. I
will say one thing about Starbucks' third place. It was back in my day, and I think probably still is in some locations, an incredible third place for teens.
Mm-hmm.
You save up your pocket money and order the most disgusting drink you could ever order, and then you just like sit there with friends and feel like a grown-up for a while.
That is true.
You know?
That is true. I feel like that's shifted to Sephora now, as we've talked about on the show.
That's also true.
Sephora is the third place now for teens and tweens.
It's funny because that reminds me of how the move to online ordering in the app and all of that has in some ways exacerbated that shift, because we all kind of watched in horror when all of these fast food chains were starting to create like the online ordering mold.
Horrible.
Like, I want a quarter pounder, but I want it to have 17 pieces of cheese and no meat. And then you press enter and then it just shows up on the counter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in the same way that like the younger demographic is key to Starbucks and these other companies' bottom lines, they were hoping that this march toward being more digital, more modern was going to like bring that crowd in, and I guess it did, but it's not a continuation or evolution of the original ethos. It's a whole entirely different thing. It's this thing where you get on your own phone by yourself and do something that like would have been fun with your group of 6 friends at the counter at Starbucks, but now just makes you look like a jerk to the baristas who have to put together this like 20 ingredient brain.
Totally. I want to talk a little bit about the app and mobile orders, how they've incorporated this kind of digital ordering that seems to have shifted into high gear during the pandemic. Tell me a little bit about the sort of digital ecosystem around Starbucks.
I don't want to overstate the importance that the pandemic played in all of this, but I mean, it kind of did. Like it was suddenly you were afraid to go anywhere in public, and a number of Starbucks basically like, or maybe it was almost all of them even, had everything inside roped off. Like there was no third place. It was literally just a walkway that maybe even had like little 6-foot increment dots so that you knew where to stand while you waited. And in some cases, there wasn't even a cashier. You showed up and you were like entering this glorified pre-order drink collection depot. All of those things together, like Starbucks got that ball rolling, but then it took on a life of its own. And now they have just, the menu is absurd. It has like boba tea options, energy drinks, all of these powders and syrups. And you as the customer can mix those together in almost any form or fashion that you want. It's just the conflict it creates with the workforce then, who has to put this stuff together. And, you know, many of them took these jobs in the first place in hopes of tapping into that idea that it was going to be a rewarding job, you know, and this third place instead just ends up pouring a bunch of scoops of stuff into a blender and then putting it into a cup on a pickup counter.
I do think the one thing that having these specialty weird drinks like the olive oil coffee does is keep Starbucks in the news cycle.
That's true.
And keep people posting about it on social media. So I think the ROI per store may not be that high, but you may be saying like, this is actually like great for our marketing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
For a long time, there was this positive feeling around being a Starbucks worker because I think baristas had the opportunity to get like free online college tuition. They supposedly had really good benefits. Then there was kind of a unionization effort that Howard Schultz seemed to totally hate. I'm curious how you think about the company's relationship with its employees at lower ranks.
That all began when Schultz was still behind the wheel, right? All of the people I talked to, they were very clear that Schultz felt like a sense of personal affront at the idea that he had created and run the company as being bad for workers.
Mm-hmm.
He had very intentionally, purposefully created a business model that did offer the workers more than they could get elsewhere. But then it didn't evolve with the times either. There was a point where the benefits were good. Now the benefits are not that different than Walmart. So
right.
Like what he did is he set off a cultural change. And so credit to him for that. But if you just sit there and kick your feet up while everyone else moves in your direction, they catch up. You know, it's like, I don't know, tortoise in the hairstyle or something.
You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Thanks, Josh.
You're welcome. Expert analysis.
No.
Should we expect it to be different for Brian Niccol, though, coming in? Or are we just going to see the same Howard Schultz playbook again?
I don't know how. I don't know how the Howard Schultz playbook persists the way that Niccol and even Laxman were viewing their job. They didn't see themselves as these like revolutionaries. The models that they had or have for achieving it are like about appealing to the masses, sort of like give the people what they want, not this idea that it should be a purpose-driven brand. He strikes me as like this dude who wants to go back to coffee being about coffee again. I don't know that isn't like secretly a very smart move that's going to resonate well with people who didn't grow up with Starbucks being this company that tried to solve racism, or or was even a place where you like met your friends to like sit around, drink a cappuccino. Like, you had like 4 menu options back then. You picked one of them and you did something while you were there. It wasn't about like the production of the drink. It was about having like still a bad coffee, but like a coffee and talking, like meeting with people.
Mm-hmm. To end this interview, what is your Starbucks order, Clint?
Oh, do I even have to acknowledge that I haven't been there in like probably 15 years?
Some real helicopter reporting then.
I know.
Yeah. You're like, this is a right around.
The problem is that I'm a coffee snob and I don't like their coffee. I think that they make other
Yeah, because
stuff
it's bad.
that's probably all right. I appreciate what it stands for in the same way that, like, I don't really eat McDonald's either, but these are brands that have become world famous for a reason. They do things well, even if they're not your thing, right? And I think that for a long time, Starbucks did a bunch of things really, really well. And now it's just found itself in this awkward place of like, that stuff kind of doesn't work anymore. And so like, what's next?
While I personally don't love like the quality of their drinks, no matter where you go, you can expect consistency in different countries, in different regions. And I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, agreed.
We'll be back with Clint for Keeping Tabs, but first, a quick break followed by some summer fun. We had 2 conversations about brand ethos and identity in a different way. The first one is with rapper Saweetie, who's unexpectedly the best person to sell you some boiling crab. The second is with TV producer and author of Sex and the City, Candace Bushnell. That's the rapper Saweetie on her latest single, Nani. Saweetie actually did an interview 4 years ago with my colleague, Casey Ifeanyi, when she was releasing her album, Pretty Bitch Music. That's my soundtrack. And in that interview, she said that she didn't feel successful yet. Of course, she's only continued to rise since then, not just with her music, but with her TikTok presence and her savvy brand deals. So when I got the chance to talk to her this summer, I wanted to know, does she feel successful now?
I do, because I've been practicing being in a state of gratitude. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not grateful for what I've accomplished now, what will I ever be grateful for? So I try to change my mindset since then, and I've learned to appreciate the small things, the medium things, the large things, but all the things that make, me. So I definitely feel like my mindset has changed.
Was there a turning point for you, or was there a moment where you were like, I need to change the way I think about all of this?
I would say over the past 2 years, I've been hyper self-aware in a sense of just doing more personal growth and self-reflection. And through many reflections, I realized that I was constantly worrying. I was constantly wanting to be somewhere else in life. And if you're always like wanting for something else, you're never able to really appreciate the moment. So I had to shift how I viewed, my life and my circumstances in my life.
So you recently partnered with Postmates and the Boiling Crab.
I know my taste buds can make me a hot mess sometimes, but thanks to Postmates, I'm collaborating with the even hotter mess. What? Who'd you think I was talking about? This is the hot mess from Postmates and the Boiling Crab. It's a combination of all of my...
Tell me about that partnership.
For my food partnerships, I notice that I get them because of the videos I create. And if you know me, if you follow me for a minute, I love doing mukbangs or ASMRs. And I love me some boiling crab. And interestingly, they pulled up my account. And that's the most thing that I've ordered this year. So they knew that it would be an authentic and genuine partnership.
How did you feel when you got the email and they were like, you order so much boiling crab?
I was like, damn, girl. Because there's weeks where I'm ordering it like 3 times a week.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I love crab and spices.
I read you grew up eating it, right?
Yeah, my mom used to take me to like a seafood city or like a food market. We'd get the crab and she'd bring it home and cook it live.
Wow. Okay, that's intense.
It's really intense.
I want to sort of go through some of your partnerships and talk about how they came about. The first is McDonald's, actually. How did they get in touch with you? How did you decide that they were the right brand to partner with?
Well, they actually came to me because I had went live plenty of times, and I would make these crazy McDonald's concoctions.
I've watched some, and I find it awe-inspiring and a little bit upsetting,
Why?
It's just like, I'm like, how is she eating all this? It's impressive.
I've always had a peculiar taste in food. Always like just trying like different things. Getting a Capri Sun and then getting a hot dog or a beef link. You toast the bun, you put cheese on it, you put the hot dog, and then you put mayonnaise and barbecue sauce on it.
That could be good. It's not a no off the bat.
It's so delicious. It's a perfect after swimming snack.
That's a very specific. But I am always hungry after I swim. So
I'm starving.
So McDonald's got in touch with you. They saw a video of you making a crazy McDonald's creation.
Yes, and to be honest, when I got the call, I was getting a lot of brand deal offers at the time.
Yeah.
So when it came in, I thought my team was like playing with me. They always thought my food concoctions was crazy. So I thought they were just playing around. Like, you know, you and your crazy concoctions. They find like McDonald's has an offer for you. And I'm just like, stop playing with me. So I didn't believe it at first.
That's funny. It sounds like you get approached by a ton of brands. How do you decide which ones are right for you?
In the beginning, I was saying yes to a lot of brands. But as I started to do business with these people, I realized that brands are people too. They may not have a face of the company, but they have real people working there, and those real people want a real connection with you.
Right.
And I don't think that it's a good business practice to do a brand deal and take money from a brand you don't believe in. So moving forward, if I'm collaborating with a brand, I genuinely either love the brand, the company, or the product.
And audiences can kind of tell, right?
Absolutely.
Like, we're not stupid. I want to talk about a couple more of your partnerships and why they made so much sense for you. Mac is one of them. You are immaculately made up right now.
Well, thank you. Look at your play on words. You might be a writer.
How did that partnership come about?
Well, I find that Mac has done a lot of iconic collaborations.
Yeah.
Growing up, I witnessed the Rihanna campaign, the Nicki Minaj campaign, and when I was approached to do this campaign, it was absolutely a no-brainer. The surprise within that was actually being able to do it with Cher.
Yeah.
And I love
that was
Cher.
Very cool.
That woman is 21 going on 21. Her energy is so great. It's so infectious. And her star power is just so beautiful and wonderful to witness in person. So that was a lot of fun.
I love that. Let's talk a little bit about Pretty Little Thing. You've sort of been super involved with them, that you have a collection. Do you come to the table with ideas? Like, this is the kind of collection I want to make?
I definitely come to the table with my ideas, the products I prefer, and how I'd like to roll things out. And I'm really grateful when a brand allows me to express myself in that way, because there are some brands who they're legacy brands. So it's like they're super strict and there's not that much like wiggle room for creative freedom.
Yeah. Like, did McDonald's have guardrails, or were you like able to do what you wanted there?
Honestly, the rollout was so perfect and so on point, I had no notes. They basically wanted to create a fusion of the icy girl world and food. And I feel like we did that.
And you were like, that's me.
Like, my favorite moment was when I had sipped my drink from the meal and the straw turned into diamonds, like icy
That's
diamonds.
Cool.
It was just, it was good. It was very on brand for me.
Yeah, I love that. But with Pretty Little Thing, did you design the clothes, or like, how did that partnership sort of work?
Well, I pick silhouettes and I pick patterns.
Gotcha. That makes sense. It sounds like a lot of brands approach you. What are some red flags? Like, what are ones where you're just like, this is not good for me?
Brands that I feel like don't make sense with my brand.
Right.
It may come off as forced. It may come off as, like you said, consumers are getting smarter by the day.
Yeah.
So if I don't really believe in the brand, it's really like a no-go for me. And even if I believe in what they're doing, maybe it's just not a fit for my lifestyle.
Right. Going back to your partnership with Postmates and Boiling Crab, it is incredibly well thought out. I think you released Nani the day cancer season started.
Boiling Crab dropped the day cancer season.
Yeah. Did you think of that? Did they come to you with this whole plan? What was that like?
Honestly, there are times where everything feels like such a coincidence. It just lets me know I'm in alignment because how it lined up perfectly. When I looked at the calendar and the drop date and even the language that I was using throughout the campaign, I was like, this is the perfect time and we're doing it at the perfect time. So honestly, that moment felt like just true alignment.
How early do you start planning these things? Like, how long does a partnership take?
So there's partnerships that come in and come out a year later, months later, and there's partnerships that come in quickly and then they release in a couple weeks. It depends on how their marketing team services whatever was shot, produced, or created on the back end when it comes to like shooting the campaign. But every company is different.
Do you ever worry about taking on too many partnerships? Like, do you have a limit in your head?
Yes, because there was a time where my page looked like an ad.
You were like, I'm getting that bag, but I don't know.
Yeah, and for me, I've always loved social media. I was a Tumblr girl, so I've always just been into like profiles, layouts, codes, patterns, color waves, and I just didn't like how my page felt.
Yeah.
Because I felt like your page is an extension of your personality.
Totally.
It just felt too brandy.
Yeah.
And it'd be a difference if it was like my brand, but because I'm like the new face of a certain brand, it just felt too like a promotion.
Yeah.
In that moment, I knew that I didn't want to have another moment like that again. So now I'm more cautious and I make sure that nothing like really overlaps. I just don't like the appearance of that.
You're a mentor on The Voice, or you have been. I know you've also used social media for your career or started even. What advice would you give new artists on their social media presence? Like, what do you tell the people you're mentoring?
Well, when it comes to social media presence, I would say be as authentic to you as possible. Because even if you have the personality or the brand that doesn't appeal to the masses right away, it's those types of people and brands that create a niche following that become really strong. There's such a uniqueness about it. You're attracting other unique people. And because they finally find a home for whatever they believe in or whatever they like watching, whatever they like listening to, it really creates a really strong like subculture.
You've seen a massive amount of success since you first blew up on social media. How do you make sure you're still reaching those OGs, or they're still you're bringing them along in your journey?
OGs, like my fan OGs?
Yeah, your fan OGs.
There are a couple of my OG fans where we're periodically just check up on each other.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. And what I love is that sometimes my fans become friends. It's just like a fun, like, sisterhood of positivity, love, and like jokes.
Oh, I really like that.
Yeah.
Who do you like following on social media?
I like following food. I like people who cook seafood and who create ASMRs. I like following the beauty girlies. Mainly just food and beauty. That's my favorite. Those are my favorite things to follow.
Yeah, I mean, same here, to be honest. So I think we're both in the same boat. When you're advising a younger artist about taking on brand deals, what do you tell them?
I mean, I tell them what I would tell myself. Don't do it unless you believe in it, because if you do a partnership or a deal with a brand that you don't like, it'll feel like work. It's like, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? Well, because you signed that contract. That's why you have to do it. So if you do something, or if you do a deal with a brand or a company that you really love, it's going to feel fun the whole time.
Yeah.
It'll still be work, but you're going to actually love doing it rather than resenting to have to like do it.
So you started out as a Tumblr girl. What is your favorite platform now?
My favorite platform is definitely Pinterest. I'll mood board for a performance outfit and I'll send it to my stylist. I'll do like a mini vision board about goals that I have. I'll mood board pictures that I like and that can be inspiring sometime later on in life. But there's always just an idea, and if I have an idea, I'll mood board it really quick just so that I don't lose that thought.
Have you ever thought, beyond your rap career, whether you would ever go into business? I mean, you're kind of amazing at branding. You're the queen of partnerships at the moment. How do you think about that?
Well, I foresee myself becoming my own brand. Well, I already am, but I feel like the symbol of the snowflake and icy has become so popular that it can stand alone on itself. And I envision it being an umbrella for all of the businesses that I'd like to create. And eventually, I want to be giving out those multi-million-dollar brand deals.
Next, I've got a special bonus segment for you. A few weeks ago, I was invited to interview Candace Bushnell on stage at Camp FFF, the annual event put on in the Hamptons by Female Founders Fund. I know, my work sometimes is a chore. Candace Bushnell is the author of the original column Sex and the City that inspired the show, 2 movies, and the current sequel, And Just Like That. She's also the author of Lipstick Jungle, The Carrie Diaries, and is sometimes called the real-life Carrie Bradshaw. This past year, Candace has been touring her one-woman show, True Tales of Sex, Success, and Sex and the City. I'm actually really into And Just Like That. And by into And Just Like That, I hate watch it.
Is there any other way to watch TV shows this day? We're all cynical assholes.
Not really. And during this interview, I let my intrusive thoughts get the better of me, and I had to start by bringing up someone accused of being the worst character ever written on TV. Hey, it's Che. Sorry, I had to do that one.
I think I'm the only person who actually kind of liked Che Diaz.
I thought about asking you that question. Yeah.
Why? I mean, because she was so outrageous, and she also didn't like kids, which I don't think I've ever seen any woman allowed to admit that on TV. So I was like, yeah, like when Miranda was like, Brady's coming home and he's sick. And she was like, I don't get it. I'm like, I identify with that.
I totally hated Che, but that's okay.
I know. Everybody hated that character. Everyone. I have nothing to do with it, by the way. I have nothing to do with And Just Like That. But they give me a credit and a check.
But you still...
So I'm thrilled.
But you still watch it.
I do. Absolutely. Yes. And I actually can't wait for this next season because...
Che's gone.
Well, Che's gone. And Rosie O'Donnell is going to be on the show. And then I keep hearing that rumor about Kim Cattrall, but I'm going to try to find out this weekend if it's true or not. But
anybody who knows anything,
let me know.
So before we get on to, your one-woman show and what you're working on now, take us through your journey from writer and columnist through, working on the series. I know you didn't write it.
I worked in the writer's room for the first 2 seasons of the show. I did not write any scripts because actually at that time in 1998, it was kind of, people who wrote on TV shows, it wasn't very prestigious.
Right.
Things have changed so much in the last 20 years. TV became really, really big. But when I sold Sex and the City, and there were a lot of people who were interested. HBO was interested, New Line was interested, Fine Line, companies that, of course, don't exist anymore. And ABC was interested, and I ended up selling it to Darren Star, who's the producer, really because I was friends with him, and he offered $5,000 more. Which, now it's like, what? You can't even go out to dinner for that, in the Hamptons. But, I have been kind of looking over my career and what drives me because I'm supposed to be writing a memoir. And
are you in the sort of procrastinating phase of the writing process?
I am, but I'm doing the thing that I've learned to do with writing a book. I mean, first of all, writing a book it's like I do a one-woman show where I'm up on stage by myself for 90 minutes, and writing a book is about 100 times harder than being up on stage for 90 minutes. It's, you have to really, really immerse yourself in the book. It's different than writing an article. And you have to make a real time, energy, and effort commitment to that book. I always find that if I just start doing it, I usually can keep going. But it's the
start.
You have to convince yourself, just go there and go to the computer and, just write a page about absolutely nothing. It's usually a page about how much I hate myself and how I suck. Because unfortunately, that's part of being a writer too.
Yep, that's real.
It's been pretty much of a struggle. Mm-hmm. I knew when I was 8 years old that I wanted to be a writer because I had an epiphany moment. And also because I grew up in the 60s, I'm hyper aware of sexism. And, so my message, although the message with Sex and the City ended up being like True Love, the TV show, and Find Your Mr. Big. I don't actually believe in that in real life. And I think that it's a very dangerous and negative message to tell women again and again and again that they are going to be fulfilled in a relationship, because you cannot control if somebody loves you, cherishes you, or treats you well. And, I think for too long, women have been buying this idea of romance. They have put aside developing themselves and standing up for women's rights. I think things have gotten a lot better now, but we need all of those rights and those freedoms.
You were talking about how the show's sort of version of feminism is slightly different from your own. If you were to go back, how would you change it?
I never answer that question because then it ends up like in a gossip column.
Yeah.
So I actually wouldn't change anything about the show because it works, and it really works for the audience. I mean, maybe Carrie and Mr. Big wouldn't end up together at the end.
Got it. Yeah.
But from a TV standpoint, that was really kind of the only choice they had, because people felt like they'd invested 6 years into that relationship. And then if it doesn't pay off, some people are going to be pissed off. Whatever.
But that's real life, right? You invest 6 years into a terrible relationship and it doesn't work out.
And it doesn't work out. Yes, that is real life. That is.
Your one-woman show has Sex and the City in the title, but you obviously have done a lot of other work and a lot of other writing. Lipstick Jungle is one of them. How do you feel about being associated with Sex and the City, for your whole career as things changed in your life?
It's great because it's a brand and everybody knows it. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can get a reservation at a restaurant, which is helpful. It's an Emmy-winning show. So it's, for me, that was one of the best things. And that was really, it's a luck thing because nobody really knows what's going to work on TV or in books or really in anything that's creative. And there are just so many different factors that go into making something a hit. Most of those things are really kind of out of your control. It's like, does the audience connect with the actors? I mean, yes, they did, which was great. And, the storylines and all of that. But that's the part that you can't force. But I do feel like everybody who worked on Sex and the City, they really brought their best. They brought their A+ game, and they really wanted it to succeed.
Yeah, that's your answer. You wouldn't change a thing.
No, I wouldn't. It works, so that's great.
Do you think the show changed the portrayal of women on TV? What do you think is sort of the lasting impact of that?
I do think it changed the way we look at women, but also, the reality is that even before the TV show, with the book, I went on a book tour and I went to Ireland, and all these women came up to me and they said, yes, we have exactly these same kinds of guys in Dublin, and we are telling our mothers that we don't necessarily want to marry these guys, and we're not losers because we didn't get married at 25. It made being a single woman basically okay. And cool. But it also reflected a reality that was happening really all over the world, where women were, number one, getting an education, which is really important. Number two, could get an actual job where they can keep their money, because in the 1960s and even in the early 70s, you could not have your own bank account. Are you guys aware of that? You could not have your own bank account, nor could you have a credit card unless a man co-signed for you. So taking away education, access to money, and reproductive freedom are three ways that society has historically kept women down, and they are trying to do that again, by the way, with J.D. Vance. So the freedoms that everyone in this room takes for granted can easily be taken away.
Yeah. So you're saying you didn't love a hillbilly LG?
I didn't read it and I didn't see it, so I have no idea.
Before this talk, Lidiane Jones from Bumble was on, and I want to know if you think there still is Sex in the City and what you think of dating now.
Well, I wrote a book called Is There Still Sex in the City?, which is really the Sex in the City woman 25 years later in her 50s. And, the different things that happen to you and the different types of guys who are out there. There's the hot drop. This is the guy you should be with because he's age appropriate. He's still got most of his hair. He's still got a good job. But as soon as he gets divorced, he's immediately snapped up by somebody younger. And then there's a senior age player. You guys have probably encountered him. He says he's 75. He's actually 82. He wants you to spend the night at his house. You're like, what? I mean, I see on TikTok, all of these women are they're so tired of dating and they're not getting what they want. They're not being treated with respect, and those are kind of societal problems in a way. So I don't know. I think we have to retinker the men.
I like that. Yeah, men are trash, always and forever. Well, this was great, Candace. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back with Clint, and it's time to wrap up the show with Keeping Tabs. This is where each one of us shares a story, trend, or piece of pop culture we're following right now. And Clint, since you're a guest, what are you keeping tabs on?
So a literal tab that I have open on my computer right now is from the Democratic National Convention this week, and it is Alas by Charlie Kirk.
Oh, God.
Maybe for people unaware, Charlie Kirk, he's an online troll, essentially, who also runs one of the most powerful conservative youth organizations in the country, Turning Point USA. As I watched yesterday's first night and the sort of media and social media coverage of it, I guess I had this sort of realization that there's this added benefit if, like me, you find a lot of the far-right online trolls to be annoying, of sort of like sucking the air out of the crowd's rage baiting ability. That's sort of like the live streamed version of the "you're so weird" jab that Democrats got Republicans. The Kirk post that I'm talking about was this is his own post. He says 30 seconds after showing up at the convention center, but who knows if it was 30 seconds or not. He runs into this young guy that, his video crew is filming the exchange with, and turns out it's the president of the Young Democrats of Georgia, this person named Parker Short. Two of them obviously get into an instant confrontation. Parker is asking Kirk what he's doing there and says that he's anti-patriotic, anti-constitutional, crashing the party because you tried to obstruct democracy, all of this kind of stuff. And that's already a different line of attack to an extent, right? Labeling Kirk as this outlier who hates what America stands for. That's not exactly your usual Democrat like Democratic talking point. Kirk is just like dumbfounded. He's stumped. He replies with, "What is a woman?" Like
that I have seen that a number of times. It was like, did you see that? What's her face? Former or current Representative Mace. She was on CNN talking with people, and they were talking about like the kind of like racist mispronunciation of Kamala Harris's name, and they throw out, it's like, she can't even define what a woman is. And it's like they keep going to that like bananas transphobic like turf talking point, and it's just so weird. It just like, not to cop the language, it's just weird.
After Kirk like clearly has no reply to the whole like, you're anti-American and you tried to ruin our democracy, he goes, and then he gets like the "what is the woman" line. He like just shrugs and he's like, "Oh my God, that's so weird. Maybe you should meet one." And like that's just the mic drop kind of end of the thing. I don't know why Kirk put the clip up. I guess, whatever. He can explain himself.
He was like, I got her.
I don't know.
Josh, what are you keeping tabs on?
So switching gears from that, and this is a little bit of a bummer. Did you all see this Disney story about the man whose wife passed away from an allergic reaction?
Oh, it's crazy.
In Disney Springs, and he filed a wrongful death suit against Disney. And initially, it came out that Disney was pushing to dismiss the case or have it be taken up in arbitration because the guy had signed up for Disney Plus at some point. And there is a clause, and I'm paraphrasing at this point, there's a clause in the user agreement that basically says any dispute with the company Disney has to be taken up in arbitration, i.e. like you can't like sue them, essentially, was what they were arguing. They did drop the arbitration, right? So it is going to go to court because there was this crazy backlash in there, and it's super sad. And obviously your heart goes out for this man who in this tragedy, but like these user agreements, these terms of service agreements for all of these technology things are still insane. The amount of shit that gets snuck in there on people. And I just can't get over like this story. It's so sad and just kind of frightening on a very serious level.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yaz, what are you keeping tabs on? Brighten it up.
Well, I didn't come on this pod to pretend to be smart or offer any rigorous analysis on the DNC. I came here to talk about the fact that I found out yesterday Ingmar Bergman, the famous Swedish director,
some Scandinavian country,
apparently was a huge fan of Sex and the City and said it in several interviews.
Okay, that's a very weird
quote. Bergman was a fan of the Muppets, particularly the out-of-control drummer Animal, and rarely missed an episode of Sex and the City. Quote, "The women are beautiful and they talk dirty," he told Lynn. "Do you talk that way with your girlfriends?" Anyway, listen, obviously you just heard my conversation with Candace Bushnell, and I do think Candace and Ingmar would probably have gotten along pretty well. Sad they never got to meet, I'm pretty sure. I love it when there's like an encounter that makes no sense. You know what I mean? You think of like one so firmly in the past and one like pretty much in the present, but no.
Wasn't there, this kind of reminds me of, I think on Parks and Rec, they had like Werner Herzog do a cameo part. He's like, "I'm moving away to go to Celebration, California to be closer to Disney World."
Yes. And that's it for Most Innovative Companies. Clint, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again.
Our show is produced by Avery Miles and Blake Odom, editing by Julia Shu, mix and sound design by Nicholas Torres, and our executive producer is Josh Christensen. Remember again to subscribe, rate, and review, and we'll see you next week. Man, the other night I came home and my husband, he had a plate of chicken tenders all laid in front of him, and he was drawing math symbols on them using ketchup.
He's like the biggest nerd in the world.
Divided by, I was like,
that's so cool. Were they Purdue? Did he swallow some water?
Did he swallow some wire? I'll have to ask.